Welcome to the RSP Film Room. I'm Matt Waldman, and I'm very happy to have a guest with me who is, really into the Devy aspect of Dynasty, a former player, someone who understands the game well, and I've been looking forward to having him on. And that's Felix Sharp. Felix, welcome to the show.
Man, I do a lot of talking, and I'm like speechless to be here with you. I've been a fan of yours over the years to the point where, I would send you emails and you would respond. I'd be watching you and Sigmund on Thursday nights. Remember conversations that you and Mark would have about making the jump to the fantasy industry. And I just appreciate your work so much, right down to the conversations that you had last year about race. So you get some requests once you start talking into microphones, but this is one of those ones where I was like, wow, that's so I really appreciate you having me here.
Oh man, well, I'm so glad that you're excited to be here. I've been a fan of what you've been doing, and this is, Felix, if you could tell people a little bit more about Campus to Canton, and the other work that you're doing, where they can find you, where they can find that work everywhere. You can plug as much as you want to plug.
Sure. So Campus to Canton is the website. Obviously, it's the first website dedicated exclusively to the Campus to Canton format. And if you don't know what that is, essentially it's a deep dynasty team where you have an NFL team like any dynasty team, but you also have a college team. And when your college players declare for the NFL draft, they become a part of your NFL team. And there's a college championship. Every week your team plays on the college side, and there's an NFL just like normal. So that's the website. You can find me at Sharpe Review. I do writing there. Writing is one of my passions, which is why I have a ton of respect for you, Matt, because you write a book every single year. But that's where you can find me. And then the podcast, the Campus to Canton family of podcasts. I host the Devy Debate, which is every Wednesdays. But we talk about college football from every angle, and that's where you can get that wherever you get your podcast. So,
well, who better to have on my show than someone who's basically playing in dynasty leagues that have a complete college team element? I think, and anyone who's like a fan of what we do at the RSP Film Room, I'm sure they're sitting here listening to this, and if they've never heard of Campus to Canton, they're probably looking it up right now, because to me, I know if I were, I would be. And I'm sitting here thinking I probably need to like quit a redraft league or this year or next year and get in on a Campus to Canton league, because that sounds right up my alley, man.
Well, Matt, when you're in the 38th round of a startup and you got to get a guy with some juice, you end up finding guys like who we're going to talk about tonight, who was a 4-star prospect in his class. And I've got some friends that work for 24/7 and sports, 24/7 Sports. And I'm like, what? How is this dude, the 12th ranked running back in his class? So I'm really excited about Jahmyr Gibbs. I wrote something on him last October, I think. I cited some of your analysis on Aaron Jones. So when you asked me to come on, it had to be Jahmyr Gibbs.
And it was fun because I've seen some clips from you and some stuff that you've done, and because we decided to watch him, I watched a couple of games in depth finally to score him, because I usually wait till I get to like juniors or redshirt sophomores to start watching. And I watched a few games of his, and it's been a lot of fun. So for those of you new to the RSP Film Room, if you're following Felix and you're new to me, then this format is basically spending 45 minutes to an hour watching tape. We're going to watch the same play several times. We're going to talk about what we see down to the nitty-gritty of footwork, to certain types of body movement, to concepts, whatever comes to mind from what we've observed of these players. And Felix brought, about 7 to 10 clips. I asked him to bring those. I made 7 to 10 clips. I've seen them because I've put them together, so there's some overlap, but that's normal. Like, if you've seen Mark Schofield and I when we do this stuff, we kind of look forward to see if the same things caught our eye. And because Gibbs has only played 1 year, there's only so much you're going to see. And I have a feeling we kind of pick some of the same games because we know that certain teams have good defenses, good defensive players, and we kind of want to see them matched up against that. But, to begin this, we've got Gibbs in high school here, and it looks like he's playing on Rice's field here. Is that right or no? Who is that?
Well, he's in Georgia, so I don't think that's.
Yeah,
he's from Dalton, Georgia. Did not get an offer from Georgia, and this is how I found Jahmyr Gibbs, just looking for a kid that I can add to my roster, and I see this dude gliding through defenses, like not running, gliding through defenses, and there are a lot of plays like we're going to watch right here where it seems like he changes direction without breaking speed, without any just one step, and he's off to defeat somebody else's angle. Just changes direction effortlessly and changes his speed, pace. And there's a lot of plays. I mean, I could have given you 3 or 4 high school plays, but I just wanted to show you one example. I mean, he splits those defenders there to start, gets that safety. I mean, and I'm like, all right, I got to add this guy to my roster because he is just I don't know, he's just effortless, just an effortless runner. You see him go through all these guys and barely gets touched. Now that's high school. That's high school, but that's why I had my eye on this guy in April of last year. That why I needed to roster.
And I get it. I see it. And it's funny because Milton's down the road from where I live. So I'm laughing because, of course, I remember actually playing Milton High School when we were in high school. I remember that our team played them way back in the day, but I don't recognize any of that. That's hilarious. But okay, so so when you see here, I mean, one of the things and I see what you're saying. I mean, like when you watch him just being able to see the defender coming down the line that quickly and make that one-step adjustment,
There's a reoccurring theme that as soon you can tell the moment that he sees the hole because his pace, his acceleration is like boom, slow to go, and he sees that hole, and it's almost like he sees the hole, he sees the timing, and he just gets through it. He changes that pace so quickly, and I mean he's got all these people around him, and it's almost like he doesn't even get touched because he just times it so well. He has such tremendous burst and acceleration.
Yeah. And the efficiency of his feet's really nice here. I mean, one step, opens the hips, and then again, I mean, just bends it downhill, splits those 2 defenders. It's beautiful, And I like the pad level and lean that he has, and that's going to be something also I think that shows up in his game. We're going to see a little bit more here, even as he's and that sets up. It's almost like a fake in the sense because, I mean, watch how he gets low right here and he baits the safety.
He does.
And then that dip. I bet that little pad lean did it too. I mean, I just have to – that looks like he's bracing for contact, and then he just cuts backside of the man. Yeah, that's some sweet stuff. Let's go to the next one here. Okay. So here we are. Oh, okay.
We talk about pad level. Now, this is a man who's 5'11", 200 pounds. So he's supposedly a slight back. But there are several runs that you see where I still think he runs a little bit high, but he dips.
Yeah.
He dips right before contact, and you see him bounce off of tacklers. And Mr. Waldman, this isn't any tackler that he's bouncing through right here. That's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who was the 52nd pick overall in the 2021 NFL draft. So this is Notre Dame. Not a game where his statistics are going to jump off the map, but there are so many plays that he makes in this game where he makes the first man miss. And he just makes something out of nothing. But this is one where I'm just impressed with his pad level and then who he actually gets to bounce off of him.
Yeah. And let's talk about that a little bit more. Cause when we start, there is a separation of watching. I think there will be people who listen to this and say, well, it's different coming in from what we watch in high school to what we see in college, and then what we watch for college to the pros. And a skeptic would look at this and say, well, Owusu's kind of undersized, and what about the hit here? But I would argue back that I agree with you, Felix, that one, he's a little high even here. Like, he's high pad level here. But the fact that at 200 pounds, he can already lay out a second level defender at the college level who's as good as Owusu is, gives you the baseline for where he has to go over the next 2 to 3 years as a running back, like what he can improve upon. And the fact that he's still able to hit a man and win that, even though, because it's not like he has a 7-yard downhill head start here where it's just a straight line. He's picking his way through here and just beginning to accelerate with over the next 3 yards after he makes that cut. So it's not like he's, Tevin Coleman going downhill for 20 yards, or I'm not going to exaggerate, 8 yards downhill and runs into a safety and falls backwards, or Chuba Hubbard, who's done that. This is, and those guys are bigger.
The 200 pounds, and just you see him generate power in very few steps, and this won't be the only time that we see this. But he's still high. He's still high right until so stays on his feet, bounces off of the tackler, and to as you said, to start with that skill set as a baseline, and he can improve from there. I can't wait to see what his ceiling's going to be.
Exactly. And what's kind of cool is, as we see him here, is that he does have a really nice feel for, Jay Moyer and I've talked about this. We've called it micro movements when we watch a running back. He's got some of that, because even though he dips last second, you can see here that with that white glove right there, that he's bringing that forearm up just as that collision comes. So he really struck Owusu with the forearm. Right.
And, I remember your talks about micro movements in reference to Trey Sermon, and Jay Moyer does tremendous work. And I had heard that terms a lot, but it wasn't until something on one of your podcasts in the last 6 months or so where I was like, oh, okay, that's what it means. That's what it means, is preparing for, a collision, to shed that collision and move on to the next one. These small movements.
Yeah, you can make someone miss, or you can prepare for the hit. And it's like when you're able to extend your arms out a little further, and you can see that space between his elbow and his body. And it's like if you're creating almost like a bumper effect where the defender's going to hit your arms first rather than hit your body. And while he gets knocked back, because, again, the lack of momentum into the play, he's 200 pounds. And yes, he's kind of ballasted by his line when he gets knocked, or the lineman here when he gets back in here. But he didn't fall flat either. His feet didn't come out from under him when he took this hit. So the fact that his arms come out like that, he was prepared for that hit, and it put him in a situation where it mitigated some of the force of that, because now he puts his arms together, and I think he ends up with the ball in his right arm after this. Nope, it's still in the left arm. So I don't know. That's hard to tell. Let's see if we can see it from the other angle real quick. I'm just fascinated to see if he switches arms during that hit or not. Yeah, it's hard to see. We'll see if we'll see it from the other view. I could have sworn I saw him switch, but nope. I don't know.
What would that indicate to you if he had switched?
One, it's fascinating to me that he would do that while he's being hit, because that would be kind of dangerous. But there, if he could have switched it right here, even though that's very quick to do. I like
so that he has that offhand to prepare for that collision. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like that's what I thought he was doing.
Gotcha.
But in fact, he was kind of using the ball. He was covering one hand, the inside arm over the ball. So he was trying to protect it as best as he could. Because I don't think he saw that coming. It was coming from a blind spot angle. I mean, when we see this play, it's, he's heading downhill and suddenly Owusu's in the hole. So he's got one step to react. And Owusu was coming from the outside. So it wasn't like he was looking for, it wasn't like he was looking at the middle linebacker here. He's reading the middle linebacker and going, let me cut away from the little line to the left of the middle linebacker. And so he does that, and there's Owusu coming in from the flat.
That collision.
Yeah, so it
just did have some downhill momentum. So
yeah. So I mean, to me, it's an impressive play for a guy that even if you were gonna apply an NFL standard and say the way he protects the ball could be better, his pad level could be better, if you're looking at from his point of view of what he had to read before Owusu got there, I think he had one step to decide what he was going to do before he got cracked. And the fact that he handled it the way he did actually, I think, is a real compliment to his game. The more we look at this tape, because it's like, what's he reading? He's reading the middle linebacker. He's reading his interior lineman, the middle linebacker, and he's working away from penetration. So I don't know how on earth he could see Owusu right here. Like the first time I think he sees Owusu, and it's probably not here because he's making the cut right here. It's probably like
right there.
Yeah, maybe there.
You see him brace.
Yeah. This might be the first moment that he sees it, and his brain probably hasn't even processed what to do,
Right.
So he had maybe 2 steps to figure out what to do against that guy. That's impressive. Yeah, that's a sweet play. All right. So this is a toss play. We're going to see the replay in a minute here. But this kind of speaks to what you were talking about earlier, just when we were watching his tape at Milton, in terms of just fluid and speedy.
Just fluid and speedy, just kind of gliding. And, you see him avoid that defender there in the open field without much effort at all. Gibbs is a speed back. You see him run with power, but at his core, he's really a speed back. And this was just a play where I saw him really show how quickly he can get up to top speed and just turn on that extra gear.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then just the movement. Just to kind of bend around like that
without losing speed there.
Yeah. That's a perfect example too of one of those terms that I learned from Sean Miska, the guy who is a movement specialist. Yeah, that curvy linear movement.
Yeah. I didn't want to use it out of turn, so I'm glad. I was like, is that
man,
what that is? Okay.
Man, that's totally okay. Yeah, that's totally it. Because it's no cut; it's just a bend around, and that's beautiful. And then, this is kind of the ace up his sleeve right here in his game is the ability to work downfield and be a threat in the vertical passing game.
You see him. Matt, I know you break down catches by, over the shoulder, right at you, low, and we see him make all kinds of catches, especially even in this game. There are different types of catches. The over the shoulder here on the wheel route, but he's very versatile as a pass catcher. There's not really a pass that he can't handle. And you see him getting open for the wheel route. That's a play that Georgia Tech loves to run. They run this play. They ran this play all season. It feels like every game with a defender on him and is able to make the catch.
Yeah,
get his hands underneath it.
for sure. And just the concentration at the end here, because I mean, you see a lot of backs
You get
who,
it punched out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually disruptive enough for a lot of college running backs, is just getting a hand in there. That's a sweet play.
He had another play in this game, a drag from the outside position, and I didn't include it here because I mean he got tackled immediately, but he got contact. Um, the ball was thrown low and behind him, and he catches it in stride. And just because it was thrown low and behind him, he wasn't able to turn upfield. But you just see him catch a lot of different types of balls. It gives a lot of confidence to his quarterback that he's going to make a play. Including this play right here.
Yeah, we're going to see a few more on the tape that I've supplied as well of him as a pass catcher in different circumstances. Even though we'll see a couple that are also the same, but this is a beauty. This is one that we have the same. We saw the same thing in terms of we're like, this has to be on the show.
Yeah, different type of ball here. I mean, we're going to see it on the other shot, but low. And as it has to make that fingertip catch, and he not only does it, but he's able to avoid that tackler as he's catching the ball.
Yeah, and it's just one of the things that I really like about his game that I'm seeing so far as a pass catcher is he understands how to transition, get downhill as fast as possible. And a lot of guys don't do that well, but for him to know that he's got a defender, really two defenders converging on him, and he wanted to turn inside and uphill because he thought the nearest defenders, that linebacker in the middle, he thought, I can turn inside him because I know there's a flat defender lurking here. And then he gets spun around, and he just feels, seeing the movement of Owusu again, and he's able to just work right around Owusu.
And I know that he's been coached. I can't imagine that he hasn't been coached to turn outside, but he's just so instinctive there. He knows what to do, that turning inside is a better option there, and kind of uses the momentum created by that tackle to get around Owusu.
Yeah. Makes total sense. So when you talk, as a former player, I mean, let me ask you this, because I'm often looking at transitions, and one of the things I learned about transitions was kind of gauging the defender and turning upfield as quick as possible. But what I didn't know is what you just mentioned, is that, but it makes sense, is if you're in the middle of the field, get outside, because there's more people in the middle than they are outside. Would that be is that kind of the reason, or what's the rationale for that? What is it
I mean, I guess the thought is to turn away from the defense. I can't count how many times, I mean, I was on defense, but count how many times in one-on-ones or in 7-on-7 where, the coach, where somebody would turn inside, because it feels like that's the natural thing to do to avoid that tackle. And it's turn outside, turn outside, turn outside. It just doesn't feel natural sometimes. And, I last played, years ago. I don't know if they're still coaching that, but it's just something that's kind of, that always stuck with me.
Well, I mean, I'd have to think that makes more sense, because you're going to have more players in the middle of the field, and you're probably, than you are going to be on the outside. So I could see why that would be the case. But that's, that's fascinating. So I kind of have to make note of that. That's a good thing to remember when I'm thinking about transitions. I don't want to mark somebody off or question them for going outside.
It might be
on
how
a
he's
play like
coached.
that. Yeah, exactly. Might be how he's coached. And that's such a great point about scouting, because it's one of those things, why interviewing coaches or interviewing players and asking them how they're coached, helps you understand a little bit more about their decision making, even if it seems questionable to you, from a certain perspective, because you might have a different perspective than what they're being coached by. So here we go again, bullet route right up the seam.
That's right. And again, just a different type of catch where he's taking contact right in his face, here. I mean, this is a running back, and you can tell he anticipates that collision coming because it kind of slows his momentum to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And you see him brace for that contact. But I mean, I just wanted to give a sample of like different kinds of catches. And to me, we had the over the shoulder, we had the low catch and him make that the defenders miss. And here,
yeah, because he gets
him get contact right in the middle.
Yeah, just the concentration of seeing a flash of a body right here is tough.
It would be tough for a wide receiver, and he's a running back.
This catch helped me out a lot because I watched the Notre Dame game first, and I have clips in the Notre Dame game where I'm like, he catches the ball really well, but like how he uses his hands to catch certain targets in the Notre Dame game weren't really what you'd want to see, So I was like, he's going to have to work on like attacking the ball away from his frame. And then I saw this play and a couple others, and I was like, oh, no, something was just unique about what he was doing in the Notre Dame game, because there's plenty of tape of him using his hands the way you'd want to see a receiver use their hands.
Yeah, I mean, this game here, this is the first game of the season. This is his first game of the season. He actually didn't play in the first game of the season. But against UCF here, that was his first game of the season. Almost took a kickoff, his first touchback for a touchdown. It just had a really good overall game. But yeah, catching the ball away from his body here.
Yeah, for sure.
Had to include the obligatory pass pro rep. We got a linebacker walking up to the line of scrimmage, coming in the blitz.
Yep. And this is where go ahead.
No, I mean, you can't just run and catch. You got to be able to protect the quarterback too. And he gets knocked back, but one of my coaches used to say to one of our running backs, I appreciate you if you stick your head in there. And that's what Gibbs does here. Again, 5'11", 200 pounds, sticking his nose in there.
Yeah.
Now he could probably have better technique, get even lower. But he did his job there.
Yeah. And this is actually, I think this is a good play to show his potential, because if we're looking from a college level, this is good. Like you said, it's good. He's slowing down the pass rush. He's square with the man. He had his hips bent so that he was prepared for the contact. He's shooting his arms out in more of an uppercut motion to try and keep his elbows in, arms tight, trying to get into the chest. So all of that's really good. The only thing he really has to work on for the pro game is to get his head up and not lead with his head, and really be able to let that man get a little bit closer to where he's punching, but then driving upward through his hips and getting inside those arms where his eyes and head are up, and he doesn't end up hitting his head into the pads of the defender. And that way he can distribute maybe a little more force and not be knocked back quite as much. But this isn't a bad play, because what ends up happening is, even though there are other plays we're going to see where his head gets hit first and he gets driven back pretty far, or he gets beat on the play, or it's not going to project well for the NFL. But on this play, he ends up getting his hands in there first and his head doesn't collide. And because he gets some of that force, like you said, he gets knocked back a bit, but he's able to hang in there some. And we'll see kind of a mixed bag of plays with him where there's good and things that he can improve upon. So for a freshman at 200 pounds, like you said, that's exciting.
That's where he's starting. That's the starting point. So
yeah, he has effectively 2 years to become a better pass protector, and if he's already doing that, he's probably going to get a lot better.
And he might be able to get around the 215 range, and just will be a complete player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now this one, the front two lines are pretty much washed up, but 27 had an angle on him.
Yes.
27 had an angle on him, and I talked about change of pace. And when once he gets around that edge, you see him change his pace. I mean, 27 should have been able to get him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because he's unblocked and in the box. We'll see this play again. And this is a safety. And the fact that
he's coming down. Now, that play is going away from the safety, which, but he's still right here. That safety should be able to track Gibbs down.
Yeah. But the minute Gibbs looked at him, you see him turn it on. Let's see where it is. Right there.
He knows exactly what he needs, the amount of speed that he needs for each play. And if he has to turn on an extra gear, like that play we saw earlier on Boston College, he'll do it. If he needs to be patient and wait for his blocks to develop, he'll do that.
For sure. That's a sweet looking play.
Yeah, and this is so again, there's a moment where he sees the timing of the whole, like his blocking develop, and you see him accelerate because he's like, and that's why he doesn't get. I mean, you often go through rules and not getting touched because he times them so well. And I mean, it's like right there, you see him that forward lean. He's like, okay, this is where we go because he sees it, and he times things well.
Yeah. I mean, this is a beautiful play. Even after that acceleration, that's great. And then with that safety, that little move, and he can bend around. And look at his stride. Again, the balance there. He's got that wide stride. He gets clipped a little bit at the ankles, but he's able to he has such good feel for what it takes to maintain his balance from a little clip like that. He got his body forward, his feet change stride a little bit, shortens his stride around the defender, that free arm, that you want to see the use of that free arm. I'm going to tell you who he reminds me of, and some people may think it's an insult, but I don't think it is. I think it's a big compliment, and I think that he's going to grow to become a bigger player, so it won't apply. The comp won't apply down the line. But the guy he reminds me of right now in terms of size, he's a speedier, more sure-handed version of Justin Jackson. Like the Chargers, Justin
Northwestern.
Jackson. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Justin Jackson was a load carrier for Northwestern. He was someone that was very slippery in terms of power. He had excellent burst. He was someone that you could never really get a full hand on. He used his free arm really well, like you're seeing Gibbs do. Jackson might have a little better contact balance and better use of his free arm, but Gibbs is more explosive. He's a better receiver, and he has room to get even bigger. So I don't think that's a working comp for me as someone who probably will watch him for another 2 years and go, well, yeah, that comp won't be in my book. But it's one that if I were to say, we're going to declare them optional to come out right now. If he were coming out this year and he was eligible to do that, that would be my working comp. And then I'd probably have a heavier player, who's, with more every down upside. I got to
go watch Jackson's Northwestern tape.
Yeah. And it might just be me because I think Jackson's 21 as well. So maybe I'm getting jersey, the jersey bleed into it has gotten me here. But this is a sweet play, and I just saw. We'll look at mine some of my plays in a minute here, but he just has that slippery power. He's someone who runs tough, but he has that creativity. He just seems super aware in the open field. Yeah, I mean, I just love this choice as a player to watch here. So we've got your cuts here. Let me see if I can find the one that I did of Felix.
I'm excited to see yours.
Well, those that you picked were awesome. So let me find. Let's see, where were we here? as we go through my film room stuff. Let's see. I'm going to have to pull this up a little bit higher here. Let's see. There it is. All right. All right. So here we go. I thought it was going to take forever. All right. This play I liked because it showed his processing speed against a defense that kind of cuts him off early on this play. Like, you're going to see you've got the unblocked man, over here, and you've got the pullers coming to take care of that. But you also have the linebacker coming downhill. And I like that when he spots the edge defender get past the puller here, he does a good job of, kind of dipping away from that, but more so as he's following, his second puller, he knows he's not going to be able to get outside. He just sees that, and I love how his feet respond. It's just a small step, and then he heads downhill, and he knows that the leverage of this defender inside is advantageous for the defender. So he's hoping maybe this defender outside overruns the play. So I kind of like how he kind of takes a small little step there, hoping this just to see if he can get outside or wait to see what develops here. And when he sees it doesn't, he just drops his pads and drives and takes what he can. And this is a 4-yard gain.
And that was about as much as he could hope for in that game. And it was tough sledding. I mean, that's a good Notre Dame defense, and this is not a very good Georgia Tech team. So, just taking what he can get.
Yeah. And I want to see that. I'm looking for that kind of maturity as players develop in the college game.
Matt, for somebody as fast as Gibbs, do you find that, on a play like that they're more often than not trying to bounce it outside?
I think so. Or I'm looking at two things. They're either trying to bounce it outside, not right here, but maybe right here. Like somehow trying to just kind of follow 73 and squeeze through, this linebacker here instead of taking it up the middle. Or when they encounter the first flash of an unblocked defender right here, their feet are so inefficient because they're so used to being so athletic that they look for the jump cut. So they end up jump cutting and like jump cutting downhill and not opening their hips and just getting downhill with one step. Like a guy like Kenyon Drake is an example I bring up over and over again because he's a guy, but there's a lot of players like that who, instead of taking the efficient steps, Saquon, I'll give a perfect example. Nick Chubb just signed his contract extension. Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I like Nick Chubb as much as I did over Saquon Barkley is that as great as Barkley was, Barkley in certain situations where you'd see a flash of a body would make this audacious jump cut that's just unbelievable from an athletic perspective, but just not efficient from a running back perspective. And I'm, for those of you who follow me on social media, I'm like starting to share some music clips and stuff. So I'm starting to play music, and I'm taking bass lessons right now. So I'm not going to be sharing any bass for quite a while, but I'm taking from a fantastic professional out there who gave me this, who's also a football fan, and he kind of gave me this analogy, and he's like, the best musicians, and it's a great thought, is that the best musicians aren't the guys who have this audacious technique that's like they play unbelievably fast stuff. It's that they have unbelievable fundamentals, like just really locked in fundamentals. And and it's so true. And you look at Nick Chubb, his fundamentals of his feet are so efficient. He can do some of the stuff that Saquon Barkley can do, but he knows when he needs to do it and when he doesn't need to. And Kenyon Drake's a guy who has that audacious athletic ability. Jahmyr Gibbs has that audacious athletic ability. And the fact that he knows, on this play, let me just take what's here.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who would miss that, not look at this play and value it as highly as they should. And as a result, they get too sucked into the athletic stuff and don't realize that this is, there are backs who make these plays all the time. And then when people go, well, he's a plotter because, he doesn't make these great plays. And then when they start making those great plays, they're like, I never saw that on tape. And you're like, you only
Yeah.
need to see those audacious plays once or twice to know they can do it.
Right.
You need to see these over and over again to see
I
how
mean, this
mature
is
they
what
are.
keeps you on the field. Like, these runs are what keeps you on the field, what gives an offensive coordinator the confidence to have you on the field first, second, and third down.
Yeah, you brought up off before we started the show, that you're related to Louis Sharp and that you've had him on your show at Campus Canton. And for those of you who are our age and older, you remember him from the Cardinals days as a terrific lineman, and I'm sure he appreciated backs who got not only what was blocked, but could get even when the blocking wasn't quite there, that they could help out. They could help you out a little bit if you missed a block, you missed a pull, a difficult situation, because in the NFL, you can't, it's hard to pull in the NFL. So yeah, it's just an example of that. So I think I just showed this one more time. Yeah, I kind of stopped everything to just kind of show bit by bit what he was looking at here. And just the smaller steps, and then understanding, I just got to squeeze in there. All right, let's see what we got here. Same play.
Same play, yeah. Same play. Same play.
And this is we get the all 22 version, so we'll get to see about the arm. See if I'm. All right, so you see that he covers up.
Yeah, he's still in that left arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had no time to figure that out. I don't know why I was like, but that's the thing. That's why also we watch things over and over again, because people say, I always hear this, the film doesn't lie, but man, your eyes can lie. Let me tell you, I love watching, obviously, my career is based on watching film, but you need to watch it a lot, because your eyes can lie to you, because if I just saw it from that one angle, I was ready to say that, the stripe of the ball was his glove. It wasn't.
Yeah.
That was the stripe of the ball. And I thought that he was using that free arm. So it's really instructive to understand, watch it a number of times, because what you might have thought you saw, you didn't, and I'm sure as an attorney, you've had to experience that interviewing people as well, talking about what they thought they saw and what they really saw. All right, that's the third one. I think we can move on here. Let's see what else we got. Probably have some more overlap in a minute.
This was such a tough game for Gibbs, and he ran tough though.
Yeah. This was to me the first indication of his burst, because you can see right here the defender has the reach on him. He's able to get past that, and then that nice little dip inside out with the little shoulder fake, and he beats that safety.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's Kyle Hamilton, who should be a top 15 pick in this year's draft.
See, there you go. So let's take a look at that one more time. Gets past the first level. Here's the third level.
14 is Kyle Hamilton.
That's nice. Yeah, so beautiful work there. All right, pass protection. Here we go. Squaring. There's the head. That's where, but again, at this level, fine. And he's facing the safety, no problem. Everything's there except the overextension. If he can quit leaning, man, he's already got a lot going for him. And he's got good depth into the crease too, so that when he does get knocked back, it's not like he's knocked into the quarterback's lap either.
Right.
So,
Tell me what's the issue other than safety with him having his head that far forward? Is it a leverage issue?
Yes. He can't strike with power. This is what I think backs do a lot, is when they're smaller and they're facing a bigger guy or someone coming downhill, they lean because they're anticipating the contact, and then they think they're going to drive upward, but they're not. They lose all the force of their pads because they're leaned too far over their knees, so they can't really roll upward with their hips to generate that force, that punch.
Yeah.
So when you're leaned too forward like that, sometimes what also happens, it's not just a safety thing, but if that defender hits you in the head first before your hands hit their body, then you can't even strike them in the first place. So you're already backwards. And if you want to get your hands on them first, because that gives you the best chance of being able to generate some power through your hips. But if you get hit and knocked backwards first before your hands can get in there, then even if you're trying to roll up your hips, you're probably on your heels as you're rolling up through your hips, and now you're on your butt. So that's kind of the issues with that. So all right, what else we got? Is this another pass pro? No. Yeah, I like this play too. Just a tough run.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back to that. That's not it. Let me see. I got a little too far over my skis here. Okay, after this play, it's right at, I think it was just a quick little run that I must have clipped here. All right, I think what it was is I liked, one, getting inside. He did a good job of doing that. It's a good overall read of the situation, I think, of the crease. And then just being able to kind of get skinny through that crease and pull through.
Yeah, pull through 9 there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you just functional power. And that ability to just kind of spin through contact, keep his frame, kind of keep working. Just good feel in that crease. All right, so what else we have? Just good awareness. I like the awareness in pass pro to be able to spot that edge defender and slide over late and get a punch in.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of good backs from that 2023 class, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be a race between he and Bijan for who's the number one, but all-purpose skill set with Jahmyr Gibbs, all-purpose skill set.
Yeah, for sure. And we might, and I'm just kind of hoping to see what happens over, about 65 miles to the east, because there's a kid out of Texas by the name of Kendall Milton, who kind of built like Eddie George, who will come after Zamir White, and Cook, and he might have a say. If he gets a good year and a half, 2 years in, he might have a say himself. But
yeah, RBU with the Bulldogs, because they got another one coming in next year who's a monster too.
They do.
Branson Robinson.
Yes, they do. Yeah. But when you look here, you got. Again, just more pass pro. Nice job. Mm-hmm. I mean, even this one, he gets to drive up a little bit through the hips.
Mm-hmm.
He, again, overextending.
Still head. Yeah, head still head forward. Yeah.
But the fact that he's not pushed back yet, and you can see his hips kind of go up there, he gets enough of a push that, the defender's moving as well, but the defender's a little off balance here from that push. And you can just kind of see where that all kind of works together. Burst, just seeing him, beat number 14 downhill here.
Yeah.
Let's see where it is. Here we go. Or number 10, excuse me. And that's an athletic linebacker right there. And he threatens the safety too.
Mm-hmm.
And that safe, I think that's not our man 14, that's 20, but that safety has to dive. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just knowing the appropriate what he needs for each play. When he needs to bounce it outside and use that speed, he does it. When he needs to get it between the tackles and get 4 yards, he does that too.
Yeah.
And you can see 10 try to turn it on that play to try to catch up to him, and he just can't get there.
Yeah,
Same like with 27 in the play that I showed, where 27 was trying to track him down and just.
for sure. This is the same play you showed
That's the
earlier.
same. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, the blitz. Yeah.
But what's kind of nice about that too is even though he leans in with his pads, I mean he's still able to kind of lean in and turn his hips a little bit through that and stay with them. I mean it's lots of time to be able to work on more of that stuff. But I like what I see there. This was a very fluid play. I just it wasn't as highlight worthy as some of the other stuff that we've seen. But the fact that he knows who he's facing in the zone over top, he knows that the defender has position and is just watching the quarterback's eyes. He knows he's not going to be open.
It looks like you can even see him looking over his right shoulder, right there.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep going. I mean, you were saying he looks.
No. He knows where he's at in the zone, and then he fades away from him to the flat there to get more space for Sims, for the quarterback. And then it takes contact, and you see him bounce for again a 5'11", 200-pound player. You see him bouncing off of direct contact a lot.
Yes.
Yep, he does. He does check right there, and goes to the flat.
Yeah, just the smarts, the awareness. He's thinking multiple steps ahead, and you want to see that. I liked this play because even though he wasn't targeted, you just get to see him use his hands a little bit against the defender. He dips the pad, the inside shoulder. Dips the inside shoulder, and uses the inside arm and kind of swats through the reach and gets outside. I mean, it's you want to see how comfortable he is using his hands, against defenders who are covering him. And the fact that he can give the dip and pull through.
We saw him, as I mentioned before, we saw him run a lot of wheel routes from the backfield this season. I would really like to see him line up, in the slot and outside, and just see how versatile he actually is as a route runner. But he was lethal on those wheel routes.
Yeah.
Wheel routes and arrow routes out of the backfield. He was absolutely lethal.
For sure. And this is another nice one. You get the safety, blitzing or, coming in from the outside. I think that's the safety there. And he does a great job of, again, opening his hips. This isn't the, a lot of times like we talked about earlier. Where is it? Let's see if we can get to where it's going to be here. This oftentimes when a defender's already through here, backs will jump cut or try and they just freeze in a way where that reaction takes over, and he just makes that little dip and then curls around, and a nice bend right there to get downhill. I mean,
good finish at the end of that run too.
Yes. Good. There's that bend, that pointing of the toe, getting outside, and then that nice little curvilinear movement right here. Yep. Drops the pads like you said. He's a violent runner for his size, when he has to be.
Now, this is a play that I did not include, but I saw this and I'm like, he's again making the first man miss. When it should be done right there. 4 has him.
Yeah. Yep.
But just creative in the ways that he can make defenders miss.
Yeah. Phone booth quickness. This was the first of several plays where I watched him catch numbers high balls with that underhand technique, where instead of him like extending out with his hands out, he was going underhand. Now we've seen with a lot of the tape that you showed, fortunately, that he's very capable of using his hands in the optimal position, but he can still also make nice catches when the hands aren't in the optimal position. And this was one of them. There's a couple that are even of greater difficulty where you'd like to see different technique, but it was still strong. Now this is, this is a play again, I think, where you get to see him do a good job of handling penetration, being able to take, one step, this was what it was. That was just sweet from this angle. This is one where the broadcast view, you don't get to see it do justice all the time. There's broadcast view plays that I think are better, like the low catch that you showed was better than what you'll see from a coach's tape. But from the coach's tape here, this is nice to see him against 10, because you get to see again that phone booth quickness, and he gives that little bit of a look inside, the dip with the shoulder and the head, and then gets back, to the outside of 10 right here, and makes him miss, on the play.
Yeah.
Another one where underhand technique near the back shoulder. That's an awkward catch to have to make. And a lot of times you'll see backs drop that because they didn't use the optimal technique. And I was worried about him with that, but obviously, not necessary. And that's, he repeatedly, you see him make back shoulder plays like that. Not back shoulder fades, but, just back shoulder catches. And there's that play. And you can see from this point of view, you don't get to see just how much he catches this with his fingertips, even from this end zone view. You're not going to see that as well as what you would see from the broadcast view that Felix showed earlier.
But again, I mean, just the ability to you use the word transition, to make that catch and transition to runner after the catch.
Yeah.
Very smooth with that. Which is why, in the fantasy circles, Devy folks are so high on him because of how he can be utilized in the passing game, as opposed to, we haven't seen Tank Bigsby out of Auburn used that way. Bijan probably has it, but with Gibbs, you see him deployed down the field, and that's just a virtue. That's what Georgia's offense does with him. But
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where he lands in the NFL once he gets there, if he's used that way with that team.
For sure. Now we're going to see a slot blitz, and I really like how he follows up at least with this. I mean, again, the overextension's there, but his feet, when he gets a good strike, his feet work for him.
Can you rewind to the start of that play from the other angle?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want to see if he saw the blitz coming or when he saw it.
All right, we'll start right here.
Yeah, it's some time. It was okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you even see him pointing out, so he saw it coming. How's the technique on that one, Matt?
Again, same stuff. I think that, the fact that he's square, the fact that he points it out, the fact that he's aware that he has an inside help, that he's pointing out to the inside help that he's got him, it means that he can take that outside track knowing he has help inside, and he can strike, get his head on that outside shoulder, and know that that his guard, it looks like, is going to help here. So that gives him enough confidence to kind of, even though he gets knocked back a bit, he can stay on that side, and then he ends up chest to chest. And, I like the fact that he follows up there, and he's definitely not a wilting violet when it comes to, what happens after the collision. He wants to continue to fight. I like that. Good, again, this was a good catch, just, using his hands where you'd want to see them. Because after watching that Notre Dame game, I was like, okay, let me see if he uses his hands well. And I've seen some highlights where he does.
Yeah, that's not something I noticed, and I'm going to pay more attention to that now. kind of the body catches, and it looks like that's, when he's in the flat, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and I think it might be he
Like the angle of the throw that he's, in an awkward position where he's like, I don't know where my hands are supposed to be here.
exactly. So that, and again, that's something that you're usually rating pro players on, not freshmen. The fact that that's all he has left to work on as a pass catcher, again, that's great. Because usually you're just trying to get guys to get their hands close enough together or track the ball well or be able to take a hit and the fact that the biggest flaw you can say about him as a pass catcher, not a route runner, but as a pass catcher, is that he just doesn't, that there are certain angles between basically his navel to his chest where the ball may not be perfect, that he doesn't know what to do in that tight little window that he'll have to work at. Big deal. All right, so what do we have? Let's see.
Yeah, it's just, I think with Gibbs, you can just really tell when he sees the hole because you see him. It's very easy to tell when he puts that foot in the ground and he's like, this is where I go.
Yeah, and this is a good example of him being able to change his stride length right there and kind of see how he makes that just little move and he almost has to squat in the way that he breaks down here because he's trying to avoid, I think, number 1.
Someone who got blocked into the ground. Yeah, blocked into the ground. Yeah.
And it's, it's not a big gain, but that's the kind of thing that, to me, the ability to process that and change your feet and be so efficient where you're just cutting your stride in half. It's that kind of thing that is the difference between, in the NFL sometimes, between like a 5-yard gain and a 30 or 40-yard gain. If it's well blocked. And there's just one guy to beat like that. There's your play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful play.
People have got tape on Gibbs now, and so they know that he's a weapon out of the backfield on the wheel routes. It'll be interesting to see how Jeff Collins uses him this year, if it's the same.
For sure.
I would just be so my safeties would just be so aware of his presence coming out of the backfield if I was coaching against them.
For sure. This play, I think what I wanted to highlight is that a lot of people might see this and see this backside lane here, or this front side lane actually, and go, well, why wouldn't he just take that? Why did he cut back so quickly? And I think the answer is he read the leverage of that defender early with his helmet to the inside and saw that he had defenders coming, that the way that he had blocks set up here, I think he's, as he's reading this, he sees defenders crashing inside and he knows he's going to have a defender that's going to be frozen here. So he's, looking for the cutback. Now, I want to see what you think about this, but I want to give you my point of view of it, just because it's like a 4 or 5 yard gain. It's not a bad play, but I think this is the difference between I'm literally going to start a tag called "What Would Frank Gore Do," but because of it just seems more and more lately I do this, but you see here, the difference between Gibbs, who is a very good runner and has good vision, even for a 3rd or 4th year college back, and an all-pro caliber vision back, a Hall of Fame caliber vision back. Whether you want to talk about whether he gets in the Hall of Fame or not, or whether he deserves it, his vision is Hall of Fame worthy, and his footwork is too. And Frank Gore on this play, I've seen him do this. If he wanted to get to that left side, he would press a little bit deeper up the middle. He wouldn't make this cutback. He'd press within a step of this defender who's still getting essentially double teamed here. And he'd press in there, and see if he could draw the defender on 57 a little bit more inside, and he'd be within a yard of this play, of these blockers, and then he would bounce it to that play side. He would continue along that side. And I think this is the difference between having like good and great vision, and I don't know, this may come with more experience, or it may never come and may never need to. But
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. That's my question? Is that vision, or is that understanding how defenders are going to attack you based on your steps towards the line of scrimmage? Because that sounds like Frank, understanding that he's going to suck in that defender inside and be able to get outside.
Yeah, and I think to me, I end up grouping vision and decision making together and just talk, and then I split them out within the topic area. But you're right, like pure awareness of just seeing things, I think Gibbs sees it. I think you're on point. Like he has the vision, but the decision making and the advanced processing of going, when I look at this pre-snap, if let's look at his number's sake here, say LaDainian Tomlinson or Frank Gore, who was a 21 as well. Those guys would be able to look at this and say, I know where these guys are likely to go based on what my blockers are going to be doing. How do I manipulate that more? And that's that next level for him. Like if we're going to talk about, and I think it's worthy to talk about, and it's a compliment to him to have this conversation, because it's not like we're looking at him going, oh, he's a great athlete. Gee, he can catch the ball. He's so fast. He's going to have an opportunity to be a good space player. We're talking about all of that plus what he does between the tackles and what could be the difference between him being a player who could make a Pro Bowl, who could be a lead back in the NFL, and a player who could be a great back in the NFL. And when people want to know the difference between good and great, it's learning this thing, because I think in my opinion, it's how do I get 11 to get further inside?
Right. Right.
And to me, it's that I got to press it just another step deeper. I have to be confident that I'm quick enough to avoid this defender trying to split inside here and rush inside, and just stay straight one more step. And if he gets that one more step right here, this defender's already inside, probably would have shot further inside here or tried to rip further inside.
Right.
And then he'd have this with 73 on 33. And now he's on a one-on-one with the safety.
And he would beat that safety. Yeah. I mean, it's that one more step. That one more step.
Yeah. And I just think that's worth showing, because so many fantasy people, so many fantasy players, they want to know who the next great back is. And we get so hyped up about what a great back looks like. And that's the difference between good and great. And that's what we want to, those are the things that he could develop, but we don't know yet. And what we'll be looking forward to seeing with him as a sophomore. Because again, positive gain in the NFL, this is probably a 2 to 3 yard gain.
And that decision, it has nothing to do with his 40 time, his, leaping ability, anything. It's nothing to do with his athleticism.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally just about understanding how to use all your tools to get the most out of the play. And that's craft. That's craft that he's not there yet on that, in that particular type of situation. And this is one where you can see he just tries to make the extra move. Again, this is a good example of being a freshman in your first game. This is another thing to bring up. We're talking about his first appearance. So it's not even, these are things he's already fixed. This is a thing I didn't see him do later. I didn't, and I doubt that he did this as often. This is a play where he makes the right cutback, but then he makes, instead of staying downhill, he tries to make that one extra move, because I think he saw the flash of the defender. Watch the defender on the right and watch his head. I think he kind of sees the flash of this on the periphery. He might not have. He might have seen the flash of this defender and decided just to try to cut it back. And like you could see that and say, there's some real, you could see why he wanted to do that. It's very creative, and he thinks that he might have the angle on number 10. But this is one of those plays where you'd want to have seen him just continue downhill, and run.
Yeah,
through
he's got
10.
green grass right in front of him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe coming downhill here, he might have seen this player, but I don't know. Either way, it's just something that you wanted to see him, take some of the hard yards with this particular situation and not make that extra cut. But again, first game in college football, you saw him run smart against better defenses. And this is nice. Nice little step to avoid 2 men in the backfield. And even though he loses yards on the play, he would have lost a lot more.
Yeah, another one of those plays that I thought, this shows his instincts as a runner, but I didn't include it in my clips. But yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite plays to watch. So let's see. And again, efficient. Go ahead.
No, that's just that hesitation, that step right there.
Cut his
And
stride.
I don't know if he's setting up a blocker or if that's a jump cut. I would like to see the end zone cam on that one, but yeah, just that hesitation right there I don't know if he's opening up that hole or if he knows that hole is going to be there. He's waiting for that defender to overplay it.
If I were to guess, I'd guess he's waiting for the defender to overplay it. He knows they're collapsing inside. You see, he stays his track towards that outside hip.
That's almost what you were asking him to do with that other play.
Yes, very much so. That's a great point. Very much so. And I don't have a good term for it because I didn't play and I never got coached. But to me, like you see it a lot with gap blocking, where the best gap runners like stay on the hip of the defender as they go through the hole, so that they maximize the space between themselves on the inside and that unblocked defender on the outside. Or it could be the other way around. Wherever your blocker is, I call it scraping, like you're scraping the side of your blocker, almost, because you're maximizing that space to get through the hole. And he does that plus that little step, and that defender overplays it, and now he can accelerate. Let's see if we get it from here's the angle you wanted. Tell me what you think.
I think he's doing exactly what you said. I mean, just staying on the hip of his lineman.
Because when you see backs, you see this all the time with backs. Watch his inside hip as he gets to the defender. Let's see if I can find it. I don't know if we can see it in slow. But you almost see him bend his hip. It's like his hip kind of bends around the defender a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that, I think that's just conscious of knowing that you needed to stay tight to that man. All right, let's see. Oh, I see why I like this play. This is just him doing a great job of getting some bend on a route here, where he makes a really nice break inside. See how the way he can turn his hips, plant that toe. He's not drifting out of that break much at all. So even though it's not a route that should have been targeted, I think it's a nice break and a good example of what his breaks can be. And we see a lot of vertical routes, but you also want
not a lot of option routes with him. But,
but it's
something that he might have to add to his game this year is they learn how to defend him.
Yeah. But the fact that he can the fact that he can make a break like that is nice. So the mechanics, there's potential for the mechanics being there. And I think we have one last play, and I think this was
this is a touchdown.
Yep, and there's your guy. There's the yeah.
Yeah, you can see the moment 27 realizes that he doesn't have, that he's not, he needs to pick it up, and he just decides too late.
Yeah. No, I mean this was this was a great choice, Felix, in terms of, who to pick and why, because I mean we don't see that kind of versatility out of a back at that early of a stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he has an all-purpose skill set. The things that you pointed out, it's scary to think that if he actually improves on those things and creates these open lanes for himself, because you see how efficient he is in the open field. If he can get to the point where he gives himself the opportunity to get to more open fields, he's just going to, I mean, he's already a dangerous player, but just become that more efficient as a runner, make things that much easier for him.
Yeah.
He's going to be dangerous. And it looks like he did some of those things at times, just wasn't consistent.
Yes, which tells you the potential's there. And then you brought up you brought up such a nice point to say that yes, this is a guy that probably can be 215 by the time he enters the pros. And a 215-pound back with that kind of skill set. Now we're looking at a guy who I had at the top of my tier. Actually, my comparison tier reads this: Marshall Faulk, Jamal Charles, and then even with Justin Jackson right now is Jahmyr Gibbs. The fact that if I were making a comparison to someone and I'd feel like he's even with Justin Jackson in terms of what if he didn't gain any more weight and these are the skills he has and he just gets more used to what the NFL was going to ask him to do and has a year to acclimate from that perspective, but stays the athlete and the technician that he is, he's essentially even with what Justin Jackson is, which is a promising space back when healthy, who's shown enough to produce, and the team's was excited about him when he could stay healthy. Now they just he can't stay healthy, we're letting him play out his contract, but he'll contribute to a team. This is what he's, to me, equivalent to as a freshman when I comp. But if you're saying he can add 15 pounds, he can get better, he's going to play 2 to 3, another year or two at least, then we might be looking at a guy who's now somewhere, he'll be ahead of Jackson. He might be closer to one of those two guys. I don't think he's quite as sudden as Jamal Charles was, but he might have a little bit more Marshall Faulk to his game, who understood how to be unbelievably efficient just like Charles and was a great pass catcher and had a lot of those skills, And the Aaron Jones comp you brought up, I think is a fantastic comp. I think that might be the best comp because that's, the size, what he can do between the tackles and get into.
Yeah, I mean, Jones has the same kind of gliding stride, efficient with his steps. You don't see him making those jump cuts that you don't like from Saquon. Is just an efficient player. And I even did a comparison, a side by side of just seeing Gibbs and Jones kind of doing the same kind of things in their offenses and looking very similar. But I mean, not only was last year a COVID year, that Georgia Tech team is still leaving that wishbone option offense. Yes. They've got freshmen all over the place and a new head coach. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for this guy who can – I mean, you saw him utilized all over the field just about all over the field in different kinds of ways as an 18-year-old kid. Just really, really exciting, that class of 2023, and he's right there at the top for me.
Without a doubt. Terrific prospect. So you play in Devy leagues. Well, of course, you got to follow Sharpe Review on Twitter. You've got to be able to check out Campus to Canton. You check out those leagues. That sounds fantastic. I got to check that out. And if you don't mind, will you send me a link to that side-by-side comparison you did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'll link that in the article that I put on my site. So when we post the film room in there, that people can check that out too, because I want to see that as well. So.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I tweeted it and I put it in that article that I mentioned to you. So,
okay.
Yeah, you got to let me know what you think.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, folks, this was great. We'll definitely have Felix on again. And as you know, the RSP is available. It is one of the more evergreen products you're going to find in the Dynasty space. And it's available for $21.95. You can also check out the RSP Dynasty and Projections package, which, if you're a fantasy drafter and you want 2 years worth of projections and you want them updated multiple times a year, I'll have another update out within probably the next 2 weeks. Once we have a couple weeks of training camp in, if I have time, I might do another early one and give you 2 in August, but I'm not making any promises for that just yet. We'll see what the month brings. But, that's available as a separate product, and people are liking that. You can find all that at MountWaldmanRSP.com or MountWaldman.com if you just want to buy it directly, if you're like, here, take my money. So I appreciate folks who say that, and that's, it's much appreciated. And I usually get back to people within 24 hours if you have any questions or you don't get what you're looking for. So I'm pretty responsive. If I'm not, it's because I check my spam folder probably every 3 to 5 days, and sometimes you get caught up in there. But if that happens, you can contact me on Twitter at Mount Waldman, and I'll make sure that we get you straightened out. Thanks again, and you guys have a great week.